Hi, my name is Chetan Parkyn, and I've been asked to talk a little bit about two of the circuits in the human design life chart, that of collective and individual circuits. So this is the question I was given. You once said that all collective gates and channels are not personal. What does that mean exactly? And does that mean that individual gates and channels are personal? If you studied the circuits in the human design life chart, you'll know that we've got three main sections of circuits. We've got the individual circuitry, we've got the collective circuitry, and we've got what we call the tribal circuitry. And among those three different circuit groups, all 36 channels are included one time. So a gate or channel is considered either individual, collective, or tribal. So if I say that collective gates and channels are not personal, basically what I'm saying is, in our human makeup, we have several senses, and the one that we seem to have been persuaded to rely on perhaps the most of all is the sense of eyesight, what we see. This is because through what we see we can share. Sharing is a key word amongst collective circuitry. We can share our viewpoints, also our beliefs. We can share scientific experimentation. We can agree on judicial concepts. We can watch our own and each other's life experiences. And so that's what I mean by the collective way of gates and circuits and channels. Every single one of those gates and channels in the collective circuitry has something to do with sharing what we see. We can both agree we're looking at a table, or a wall, or a car, or some writing, or a sunset. So we share these points of view. And so yes, you might be sitting on your own watching the sunset, and it may have particular colours and cloud formations, but unless you're talking to a blind person or someone who's never seen a sunset, then that person will be able to relate directly to your sunset experience. It's a collective experience. It's something like, oh, I saw an amazing sunset. And everyone you talk to answers, oh yeah, we totally understand about that. That's why I'm saying that collective circuitry is not necessarily personal. It's the same if you're reading in a book and you show somebody else what it is you've been reading. Oh yeah, this seems to add up to a simple point of view here. Maybe we can have a discussion about it, but it's putting forward a very particular viewpoint. As another example, the judicial system, for instance, is not a personal thing. Now, it may affect you personally, but you know there's a rule system, and this is how the rule system works. And this is what happens when it's observed that the rule system is disobeyed. Same thing with belief systems, also a part of the collective. You find yourself joining or part of a spiritual group or a church or something, and you are told these are the rules. These are the beliefs that we hold in common. Jesus walked on water. Muhammad rode to heaven on his horse. Buddha came into the world walking. It's written in a book somewhere. This is the deal. You want to be part of this group, this congregation, so here it is. Do you believe? Yes? Okay. No? Go somewhere else. You want to drive in this country, in America? You drive on the right. If you live in another place like England, you drive on the left. These are just the collective points of view of things, how things have been worked out. So that's why I'm saying that they're not personal. When it comes to the individual circuitry, it's acoustic. It operates through sound, vibration. And the funny thing about sounds is two people can be listening to the same person talking and get a completely different idea of what that person's talking about. You perhaps played that party game where you sit in a circle and one person whispers something into the ear of the person next to them. And that person whispers to the next, and on it goes around the circle. And then the last person in the circle is asked to repeat what they heard. The results are hilarious. Two people can go to a concert, shut their eyes, and they can listen to the music and what's happening in that concert. And they can be sitting or standing right next to each other, and pretty much they're in the same acoustic environment. But they can go out of that concert having had a completely different involvement. They can go out of a lecture or a discussion having heard something completely different. that they can go out of that concert having heard something, had a completely different impression. They've been moved in completely individual ways. Or they can go out of that talk having heard something completely different, a different perception of what it was the speaker was telling. So when I say individual channels and gates are personal, that's what I'm implying. Ultimately, people are only capable of hearing what is in their capacity to hear. Said another way, people hear what they want to hear. And again, this ties into the individual and thus acoustic individual circuitry in human design. So now we come to a very important fact about human design. The whole basis and foundation behind human design comes from when Robert Allen Krakauer, was first having this experience of downloading the system from what he called the voice. Ra heard, or was able to hear, the word RAVE. R-A-V-E. He heard RAVE. And you'll find RAVE written throughout what he has been put together as the official human design. And by the way, this thing of being official is an attempt at owning copyright to a channeled or downloading system which is not legally relevant. And what Ra heard, RAVE, has always bothered me. For years it bothered me. Every time I met Ra, I said, you know, did you ever work out what this RAVE really means? He'd always come up with a different idea, a different answer. He couldn't quite get it. It never made sense to him. Perhaps he said it was something to do with the cosmic child. Or perhaps it had something to do with all the rave parties that were going on the island of Ibiza where he was living at the time. Or perhaps it had something to do with a mutation that takes place in 2027. But nothing definitive. And because it bothered me so much, I went really deeply into it and made a very deep inquiry. What is it about? What is this rave thing all about? And guess what? It was something that was misheard. And it was something that Ra was not able to hear. Maybe it was just his way of life, his lifestyle, his makeup. Or he just didn't have that concept or reality. What he misheard was ray of love. We are all rays of love. With individual circuitry, it is individual. You can only hear what you're capable of hearing. It really is an individual experience. And as I say, two people hear completely different things. Ra misheard and built his whole comprehension of human design on something that misses the most important aspect of our being here, having this life experience. Love. That we are rays of love. Human design illustrates us and points out to us that we are rays of love. So be very, very particular in recognizing the individual gates, the individual channels that you have in your makeup. These aim you towards a very personal experience in your life. Be very clear about the acoustics in your life, the sounds, the silences, tones of voice, neighborhood noises, musics, animal noises, bird song, wind in the trees, the sound of water, the sound of waves. These are the areas of our personal transformation. If you don't appreciate the sound of someone's voice or the noises around you, there's a part of you that is discordant with what it is that you're hearing. Consider that. And remember, you can't count on the fact that somebody's going to hear the same thing you're going to hear. That when you say something, they're going to pick up on not necessarily what it is you're trying to relay to them. What you hear is unique to you, and what they hear is unique to them. If we're considering the collective, we're talking about on one side progress. Progress that happens through the experiences we have or the ones we witness. By expanding our experiences in life, we push a little further and expand our sense of progress. On the logic side of the collective, science, does the other thing. It moves forward by restyling old experimental formulae and building new ones. So the collective is an evolving state of moving forward step by step. In science, you have to do an experiment 30 times before you can qualify that this experiment doesn't appear to work in any other way at this particular moment in time. So it looks like this is the new truth. It's the new logical conclusion for the time being. We all have to accept this is what is possible now, and society adjusts accordingly. We couldn't fly because it was impossible, and then we could. We didn't have telephones because we didn't have the science to make it possible, and then we did. And with the individual circuitry, there are no limits to what you have as an individual experience. And in the end, through the individual circuitry, you get to find out who you are through sound and silence. The sound takes you right up to the edge of innovation. And then the silence, when you drop into it, and you have that profound knowing that is yours. The collective gives us knowledge. Step by step, we move through layers of beliefs and understandings about life. Your individuality gives you knowing. We are rays of love, seeking to know. To know. There's nothing good or bad about anything. There are 112 different ways to enlightenment, and they're all equally perfect. They've been chronicled for millennia. And one of the great beauties of life is that different people have different ways of going about their life. Some people are right on the edge. All they need is just one more little step, one little realization, and they're gone into another arena of inquiry. Other people, they need to make giant leaps in their life to have this realization of who they are. Because in the end, that is the journey that we are all taking, finding out who you are. And recognizing about these circuits and the gates and channels in these circuits in the Human Design Life Chart is a very interesting, very concise way of knowing. What is your path? And what are the paths that other people have chosen to take? If you'd like to go deeper into human design, we offer a wonderful training. Here's the link. Rather than training analysts, we train practitioners in human design. It has been said about us that we put the human in human design. We train those who want to appreciate their own design first, so they come from a pure space when relaying human design knowledge to other people in ways that give those people direct and empowering experiences of who they are as rays of love. Thank you.